Hi everyone. Welcome to our Q&A for this week. We got a couple of questions that we think are, as usual, things that come up all the time. So we're very happy to talk about this. So one question is, what's the best way to stay motivated? What are your thoughts, Stephanie, on this?
The best way of staying motivated. Whew, that's a loaded question. I think it depends on the the parameters here, or like of what you're in what context you're asking this. So staying motivated through challenging times, or staying motivated, like sustaining motivation. I mean, these are two different things. So okay, I'll just hit staying motivated, like being like in a sustained kind of way. That I would say, let yourself have the cycles of more motivated, less motivated, more, because that's normal. So I would say whatever kind of, and if this happens like in a creative context, if this happens in a energetic context, um, professionally, whatever, I would say just be gentle with yourself through cycles, because it's normal to be more motivated at times and less motivated at others. So if you just let yourself go through the cycle and you don't judge yourself in the times you're less motivated, that's a huge thing. Because then what happens is, it when we're in the cycle, because the cycle is normal, and when we go dip down into the cycle, then the judgment comes in about, why am I not motivated, and I got to get myself motivated, and what's wrong with me, and whatever, and all the judgments come in, and then that just drives you down deeper and deeper and deeper. So the actual lack of motivation isn't the problem, it's the judgments about the lack of motivation, right?
Absolutely.
That then becomes a problem. So I would just say, let yourself cycle through normal cycles of more motivation, less motivation. In the context of like staying motivated through challenges, in that context, I would say always remember the root purpose, or the root reason why you're trying to get motivated to do the thing you're doing, right? So if it's to write a paper for a class, or if it's to keep showing up for auditions when you haven't gotten a part in a long time, or keep entering songwriting competitions when you've had no luck, if it's that kind of thing, then I would say always go back to the root purpose and the root passion and the root reason. Why am I doing this in the first place? Find the love of it again. Align with that, and then only align with that. And I think that naturally then increases your motivation.
Yeah,
Keep showing up.
absolutely. I
That's my advice.
totally
What do you
agree.
think,
Oh
Alicia?
yeah, I totally agree 1000%. And I was thinking too that both in like the challenge and the normal times, like I think it's very important what you said, like to just be gentle through the fact that it's just not a straight road. It
Right.
never is. And I am thinking of like when there's less motivation and there's judgment, like there's a lot of like feel bad stuff, if that makes any sense.
Right. Yes.
So for you to be able to insert some feel good nuggets in there,
Hmm.
it could be like take some time, really, really doing something kind for yourself, like something gentle for yourself. Like
Right.
I'm just gonna enjoy like a warm cup of coffee while I am
Hmm.
doing this thing that I am doing. I am going to
Hmm.
make sure to like go slowly.
Hmm.
And when there's something that goes right, really spend some time celebrating that achievement.
Absolutely.
Oh, I got this done today. Because
Right.
oftentimes we fall in the, oh, I got it done, but there's so much more to do. I got it done and it's
Right.
20% of what I need to do and it wasn't that great. It's like, no, it's something
Right.
you needed to do. It got done. So sit
Yes.
on that for a moment,
Hmm.
definitely. And maybe
Yeah.
sometimes give yourself a hug, like,
Absolutely.
good job. You
Yeah.
did it, anything that feels good for you. It
Hmm.
could even be like light a candle when you're working on your to-do list. Whatever
Hmm.
feels good, give yourself
Hmm.
permission to have those feel good nuggets because they will really help.
Absolutely. Self care is key all the time. Yeah, and you
Absolutely.
hit on something really important. I think when we're doing work on ourselves, it can start to feel like a grind sometimes if we like fall back into old habits or if we feel ourselves regressing a little bit or whatever. And I think, like you just said, um, it's really important to recognize the progress you've made or the things you've done that have been positive change in your life, right? So if you're feeling like, oh, overcoming, let's say, actually, we were just dealing with this with a client with an eating disorder, making so much progress, making changes in her life, making whatever, and then falling back and having a binge and feeling like all of that was lost. So what's the point of continuing on forward? And to recognize in that moment, no, these are all the changes actually that I've made. Look back 10 years if you have to and say, okay, where I was personally, and where I am now, and recognize all of the changes that you have made and implemented, and use that then going forward of like, okay, I actually have changed quite a bit. I've done quite a bit. I've accomplished quite a bit. So I can just give myself a moment of rest here and then move on and keep moving forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's so important, everything that you were saying about our client with the
Mhm.
eating disorder, because I think that also happens a lot with addiction or with
Yes,
healing in general. It's like,
absolutely.
it's not a straight road, and going into the work expecting it to be a straight road, like an ascending line, like the
Right.
overall pattern, if you look at your healing journey overall it'll be ascending, but in
Exactly.
that ascending it's going to be roller coastery.
Lot
Sometimes
of
it's circular, sometimes it tanks and goes back, and all that's natural.
exactly. Yep.
And the more you resist it, the more difficult it's going to feel.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Ride that
So
roller coaster. Yeah.
absolutely. And this is like so tied into the next question we got, which is sometimes I get exhausted, but letting myself rest feels unproductive.
Mm.
And this happens so much.
This is exactly. Yeah. I mean, oh, so many of us grew up with this idea of like, you must be productive. I mean, I know I grew up with a fear of being unproductive. I had to structure my days to make sure that everything I was doing in my day, I wasn't wasting time, right? That is something I had to work for years on because there's a lot of guilt associated with that. There's a lot of shame associated with that. But so, first of all, the recognition, the acknowledgement that resting is actually a necessity. It is actually like self care, like we were just talking about, resting, self care, allowing yourself space to do nothing or be unproductive actually is productive. And I think it's just because of the society that we live in and how um, it's like a good thing if you're a workaholic. Like that's
Mhm.
something to aspire to almost. And
Yeah.
it's so toxic and it's so bad for us. And so if we can recognize that resting is actually part of being productive because you allow yourself to rest, which you need, then you have the energy to keep going. And so I can personally say, like in my own process with this, I remember as a kid thinking I just wanted to rest and watch some TV. And that was the worst thing I could do. That was the
Mhm.
worst thing. It was like you're rotting your brain and you're just wasting your time. And the worst thing you can do in your life is waste your time. And but what I realized is as I got older and I had this wonderful mentor, Louise Montello, who is the originator of the performance wellness program,
Mhm.
she had me actually do things intentionally to waste time because I had so much guilt about that. So, find a spot either in every day or every few days or once a week where you can waste time. Literally do what you think feels like wasting time to you and then recognize it as a gift to yourself and part of recharging yourself or whatever. And once I was able to do that, it took a while because letting go of the guilt and letting but then once I was able to do that, I realized, oh God, I live such a more productive life actually by allowing myself now. I mean, TV now is my greatest thing that I can actually luxuriate in, but I get so much from it too, which I never realized in the past. Now I like really benefit from
Hmm.
TV. It motivates me, it inspires me creatively, you know? So it's like all of these things that before I would have labeled it as a waste of time. Now I realize, no, it's how I recharge my batteries. It's how I get creatively inspired again. It's how I plug back in
Hmm.
weirdly, you know? So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that kind of conversation.
Yeah,
What
that's not just two
what's
cents. That's
what's your
very
take on it?
precious.
Yeah, that was like a dollar and a half. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with so much of what you said. And I was thinking of some stuff that we have had with our clients and even individual clients of this almost like collapse thing of sometimes I need to collapse, but kind of like watching TV and kind of like, wasting time, so to speak. That's about the worst thing, except when we want to collapse, when we want to lie down, the body is saying something.
Right. Yes.
And it's more the guilt when people are like, oh, if I lie down, I'm just going to be there doing nothing for 10 hours. I think it's more the guilt of doing it that
Yeah.
keeps people stuck and
Right.
completely de-energized than the
Right.
actual doing it.
Yes.
Because doing it
Once
without
again,
guilt,
it's the judgment of the thing and not the actual thing that ends up bringing you down to the bad place.
exactly,
Yeah.
because it's so draining, because it's like I want to lie down but I shouldn't, and that feels bad,
You
and so I want to
shouldn't.
lie down even
Right.
more because now I feel bad, but
Right.
I lie down even more and I feel worse because I shouldn't, and that feels bad, and now I'm even more blah. So
And
it's
now I'm a
so
total piece of crap and garbage and worthless. Right. And then you've dug yourself all the way down into it.
yeah, exactly. So the idea is if you're blah and you want to be on the couch, stay there. Your body is telling you something. And we
Yes.
don't mean like stay there, for 6 months. That's not what we're saying. We're saying stay there truly. You'll realize this is hard to do for 5 seconds.
Yeah, it
Stay
is.
there guiltless for
Mm-hmm.
5 seconds and see
Mm-hmm.
what happens. We're not
Right.
saying suppress the guilt. We never suggest you suppress the feeling,
Mm-hmm.
but stay there trying for a moment to let go of the guilt. three
Right.
seconds if five is too much,
Mm-hmm.
and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes it's all about I need to be there to get something. The guilt
Right.
keeps you from getting what you need.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think when
Yeah.
you're there too, really thinking about why do I need the guilt right now? How's the guilt serving me? Right? Like we were talking about the other day with cognitive restructuring. How does the guilt really serve me right now? Do I need to be guilty about just doing nothing right now?
Hmm.
By the way, you're always doing something. Resting, you're doing something. You're recharging, you know?
Exactly.
So, but okay, by doing nothing, which is the message, how is the guilt helping me? Well, the guilt is there, I think, to motivate me out of doing nothing, right? But is it working? No, it's not working to motivate me. It's working to make me feel bad about myself. So it's unproductive, this guilt. So, what would it be like if I just unhooked from the guilt? What would that be like? What would that feel like? What would that look like? Just
Hmm.
entertaining the notion first and then trying it. Like, I'm going to try doing this right now, recognizing that the guilt is unproductive and I'm just going to let it go and
Yeah.
let's see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And this really takes an entire reframe of what we consider unproductive. Because, yeah, if we think resting or watching TV is unproductive, it's like, then what's next? Taking a shower is unproductive.
Right. Right.
Eating, I mean, skipping meals is already a thing in this, corporate
Exactly.
crazy world. Skipping meals, sleeping less, and then we see people end up in the hospital
Exactly.
from this. I mean,
Yes.
this year we had Simone Biles really come forward and say this:
Yes.
we are in a mental health crisis. This idea that you have to go no matter what, and if you drop dead, so be it.
Right. Right. And
No.
that mentality is revered, actually.
Yeah.
It's not right. It's like, oh no, you're a real champion then. If you pushed through the pain, like what? How did we
Yeah.
get here as a society? Like
Yeah.
that's not healthy at all.
Totally.
Yeah,
Yeah. Totally. That's like breakdown culture.
exactly.
Yeah, and it's
Wow.
like
Yeah, we really kind of took this into but sometimes the the questions.
Sometimes we need to go
expanding.
some places.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you think about when a car needs gas, nobody thinks, oh, yeah, I need to put the gas in the car, but I shouldn't because the car really should be running right now. Why is the car not running? Oh, you need gas, but a gas is a waste of time. We would never think that.
Right. Right.
Like, we would never think that, but we are the same thing. We need gas, and gas is not just food or sleep, or gas is many things.
Hmm. Gas is self-care.
Yes. Gas is self-care, whatever that means.
That would be really funny to excerpt as a quote. Gas is self-care.
Yeah.
Monty Bianchi.
Gas is self-care, Monty
So
Bianchi.
weird, but in this context, it is.
Yeah. So thank you all. Let us know if you have any follow-up questions about this. You know, we always want to help you more because we love this. And thank you for
Yes.
your questions. We really appreciate them.